Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for this Wednesday edition of the WLBT Plus Digital News Desk. I'm CJ LeMaster, lead investigative reporter for WLBT, and I want to thank all of you for joining us on air and online. This is going to be, of course, on our digital app, our OTT platform. You can also check us out on Facebook, where a dozen of you right now are watching. So I appreciate all of you. And again, we want to be able to help this conversation throughout all these stories that we're talking about today, be able to get out there and have some back and forth with those of you who are joining us. First up, Sheikah Hampton. Hey, everyone. 5 hearts. Well, thank you, Sheikah, for that. Hope that your week's going well. We're halfway through it. Hump day, Wednesday. So it's really good to know that. I apologize. I have not been here in the digital news desk for a couple of days because I have been covering a trial that ended yesterday. We'll get to that a little bit later in today's show. But certainly had a lot going on this week. Some pretty long days to get that stuff done. But that's what happens, isn't it, sometimes? And then you just be glad that you get an extra hour of sleep once you're done with the gauntlet. So we appreciate you joining us today. We really want to talk. Melissa Price, not to be outdone, says hello, everyone, as well. Hey, Melissa, hope you're doing okay. We want to start with this just horrific situation coming out of Delta State. And again, I want to illustrate, or I want to just reiterate to everybody that what we have to tell you about this case is what we know at this point. I would not put any stock on something that you see on Facebook that's unsubstantiated. Family members of the individual we're about to talk about have already reached out to us to say, hey, a lot of the stuff that's circulating is not true. So rumors and lies always tend to spread much faster than the truth, unfortunately. And so all we can do in our job is to get you the most accurate information that we have from the sources that we have that we trust to help provide that for you. And again, we are continuing to follow this developing story out of the Mississippi Delta, where a student's body was found Monday on the Delta State University campus. If you remember, the student was found hanging from a tree this morning. Law enforcement and university officials gave an update on the investigation. Our Quentin Smith spending the day out there. He's going to have updates for us in our early evening newscast, but we do have some things to pass along and share with you. So the student has been identified as 21-year-old Demartravian Trey Reed of Grenada. And again, a lot of questions surrounding his death. Police not revealing much as this investigation continues to unfold. But we do know that the police chief at Delta State says that there is video of the incident. He would not say what that video contains, but he says it's now in the hands of investigators. Now, the university has been in contact with 2 individuals throughout this investigation. We know one is Reed's grandmother. The other person is not a family member. But again, this story, as it continues to unfold, we will have additional information. I want you to hear now from, I believe this is from the president of Delta State University, on the fact that some details have been released to a handful of individuals at this point.
And I know this may seem like some kind of legalistic distinction, but this is how we have to operate. This was a choice made by the student, and a choice made by the student has to be respected even when the student's no longer with us. And I also acknowledge that there is a distinction between next of kin and family. And I acknowledge that both next of kin and family are grieving. But from the point of view of doing this correctly and right, and respecting the student's wishes, the university has been and will continue to be in direct contact with Trey's chosen names. And those individuals, they can choose to do what they will with the information and the communication we give them.
So let's tell you what we know. We know that Reed's body was discovered Monday morning. The coroner there tells us the actual incident happened sometime on Sunday. The coroner, Bolivar County Coroner Randolph Seals, is not ruling out the possibility of homicide or even suicide, but initially said there were no signs of foul play. Now, he sent out a press release, which we put on air and online, saying that Reed did not suffer any lacerations, broken bones, or injuries consistent with a physical attack. Again, reiterating it's a death investigation. And that's very important because a lot of the Facebook rumors that were circulating were claiming bruises and broken bones and things like that. The coroner has refuted that, has said that is not true. Additionally, family members have come out and said that that's not true, that at this point, from what we know, there is no GoFundMe set up officially for the family, and that others offering to speak out as if they're on behalf of the family, somebody who claimed to be a cousin, is not actually related to them. So again, it's situations like this where, especially when there's very little that we know, and cases that are ripe for speculation, that we just need to make sure that we trust in what law enforcement is telling us. And as journalists, we maintain contact with the family to make sure that what law enforcement is telling them is accurate. Because again, the family's going to have questions. The family's going to have concerns. Family members reach out to us often on cases they don't feel that law enforcement is moving fast enough on. So it allows that checks and balances to make sure that we get you the most accurate information. A couple of extra details. Reed's family members have hired their own attorneys, including nationally prominent civil rights attorney Ben Crump. They plan to do an independent autopsy on Reed. We also know that the 21-year-old's body right now is at the state crime lab undergoing an official autopsy to determine the exact cause and manner of death. The information from the coroner was preliminary, you understand. Police say they're expected to have those results within the next 24 to 48 hours, so hopefully by the end of this week. Congressman Benny Thompson speaking out about the incident, expressing his condolences to Reed's family while also calling for the FBI to investigate this death. Now, we have seen the FBI come in on other cases before. I think about the Otis Bird case, an individual who I believe in 2015 or 16, I may be getting the date wrong, was found hanging from a tree in Claiborne County outside of Port Gibson. And the FBI came in and investigated that thoroughly to see whether or not there was anything to that, to see whether or not their foul play was involved. So again, these things are already underway. And of course, Congressman Thompson has a lot of pull, as you know, in Washington. Another man also was found hanging from a tree on Monday. Now, this took place in Vicksburg. Corey Zakatis was found hanging in a wooded area near the Ameristar Casino. Now, he was a white male from Brandon. His body has been taken to the crime lab for autopsy as well to determine the cause and manner of death. Authorities say these two incidents are not connected. And another big thing that was circulating on social media, you may have seen it, was people claiming that we've had two black men found hanging in Mississippi in over the course of a couple of days. That's not true. Reed is a black male. This other individual, Corey Zakatis, is white. And so, again, speculation can start going rampant. Things we're not saying anything that investigators aren't at this time. We're just trying to be respectful of the families and get what information we can out to you, because obviously many of you are very concerned about both of these cases. In other news today, not guilty. That's what a Rankin County judge ruled yesterday in the payroll fraud case of a former Richland mayor. The verdict coming before a jury could decide. Here's that story from coverage yesterday.
There's so much wrong with the state's case, I don't know where to begin.
On the second day of former Richland Mayor Pat Sullivan's criminal fraud trial,
The state not only failed to prove intent, they failed to prove fraud, they failed to prove the fraudulent timesheets were submitted.
Rankin County Circuit Judge Bradley Mills had enough.
We're not going to waste this jury's time, not one more second.
Judge Mills granted a motion for a directed verdict of not guilty from the defense, ending the state's months-long investigation that began from information we first unearthed in 2023. Prosecutors from the state attorney general's office tried to establish that Pat Sullivan had defrauded taxpayers by claiming to work for the Rankin County tax assessor's office on 19 different days over several years while he was out of town or out of state at other events as mayor. One could make the argument that Sullivan was working remotely, but the state's investigator didn't find any overwhelming evidence of that.
I believe maybe one day where it showed him log in, but the other days that it seemed log in.
The biggest piece of evidence touted by the state, timesheets that showed time worked while Sullivan was elsewhere. But two witnesses said the timesheets that every employee in the assessor's office had to use didn't mean anything, according to Judge Mills.
John was not a fan of timesheets, but the county office requires to do so. Proposed, requested time off, that sort of thing.
John is former Rankin County tax assessor John Sullivan, Pat's boss and brother. The other witness, Rankin County Board Attorney Craig Slay, said timesheets help control overtime for the county.
That's why those timesheets exist. They are to help us to watch out for the possibility of violating the overtime laws. And so you don't have to worry about that for management level employees.
After Slay's testimony, Special Assistant Attorney General Stephanie Brown told Judge Mills she had rebuttal witnesses to challenge what the attorney said on the stand. But in the midst of the state's efforts to prove its case, the judge shut it down.
I think the judge saw what we said when we argued it, and that was that the state has completely failed to prove any intent, any fraudulent intent. And that has to be proven very strongly.
Now, documents provided by Rankin County in 2023, when we first did this investigation, appeared to show at the time that Pat Sullivan had taken thousands of hours of leave time beyond what he actually earned. But during this week's trial, testimony revealed that the state auditor's office had been given different figures for Pat Sullivan's leave balance, documentation that we specifically requested more than 2 years ago, but in retrospect, never fully received from the county. What we received, the documents we received, we based our story on, and apparently there was additional information the county did not disclose to us that would have affected that. And that's important to note because, again, we try to be as thorough as we can in these investigations, and we can request as much as we can. But if the agency in particular that we're requesting from doesn't cooperate, doesn't give us that information, doesn't get back to us with something accurate, then, we could only report what we have and the public documents that we were given. Additionally, we had tried to reach out to both Pat Sullivan and his brother, John Sullivan, who at the time was the tax assessor in Rankin County, multiple times, a month out before the story. And nobody got back to us to try to explain or put in perspective anything dealing with these time issues found in these timesheets. And again, that full story is on our website right now. We've got one more story to share with you. This is the latest on the Jackson Water situation. So roughly 1,000 Jackson Water customers could actually have their service disconnected by the end of the week if their bills are not paid. Now, interim third-party manager Ted Hennepin says that letters were sent to those customers about 3 weeks ago, letting them know they were in danger of losing water service. The shutoff notices come as the utility faces what Hennepin describes as a critical financial situation, operating with monthly deficit of some $3 million. Hennepin claims that's largely due to unpaid bills and the fact that a rate increase he proposed in April was not approved by U.S. District Judge Henry Wingate. He plans to meet with Judge Wingate and city officials to work on a potential solution and avoid another water crisis. That meeting coming later this week. And again, we appreciate you watching for today. I'm looking at the comments, not seeing a whole lot of stuff, not a whole lot of participation in the stories today, but I appreciate everybody saying hi and watching with us. And again, 2:30 p.m., you're going to have the First Alert Weather here, weather team in here, giving you an idea of what to expect for the last 2 days of this work week and your weekend. And of course, we'll have our early evening newscast starting at 4 p.m. For the latest news, weather, and sports, check out WLBT.com. But before we go, I want to have a word from our sponsor, Jackson Water. Thanks for watching.
Really tip from Jackson Water. Is it okay to pour fats, oils, and greases down the drain if I run hot water? What if I run the garbage disposal? How about if I use dish soap at the same time? Instead, hang on to a few containers to store and toss old cooking fat and grease once you're done. Jackson Water. Water for all the time.